United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. Before we do the public input and everything, we have two people to speak. Lady first.
Where do you want me to speak from?
You can come up here if you want and talk and
I can
say
talk.
who you are.
How are
and
you?
what-
Okay, so just going to start with. So let's look at
Anyway, you come from field.
I don't know. Here we go. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, let me just introduce myself. My name is Cindy Wright. I work at Delaware Valley Hospital. I'm the director of business development and fundraising there, and I come bearing good news, which is always nice, right? The hospital is undertaking an expansion project. We are in the process of seeking funding and getting some drawings done for an expansion project to put a four-story addition. Basically, it's a four-story addition for a medical neighborhood, to create a medical neighborhood on the hospital campus. Okay, so I'm just going to really kind of quickly. I gave you guys in these packets. This is a PowerPoint presentation that I had done for the county, but so I'm just going to kind of skim over and give you some highlights. There's some other information in your packets there. Basically, the hospital was built approximately 75 years ago, and it's done a really good job for this community. It really has. It's been refurbished, expanded, really maintained very, very well. But there's just only so far you can go, and the truth is we are currently out of space. So in order to continue to be a provider of excellent care to the people in Walton and Delaware County and surrounding communities, it's become apparent. And I want to just kind of back up a little bit. Boomer Bojo, who's the CEO of the hospital, would have been here, but he's out of town. So I'm going to just speak for him a little bit too, since because this project really is his brainchild. He thought of, he came about 3 years ago, and he's just said we need to bring healthcare and services to the rural communities that we serve, because just because we're rural and just because we're Delaware County doesn't mean we don't deserve and are entitled to quality, really high quality healthcare. So back in February, I think, January, February, the state came out with a grant opportunity, a transformation grant opportunity for healthcare services, and the hospital has applied for one. We did hear, I have a rumor that we won't hear back whether or not we'll get that grant. Earliest is April. So, but nevertheless, so that's one portion of that we've applied. As part of that process, the hospital, we were required to have some public meetings, and we got some public input. And we held a public forum back in February and got some really good feedback back from the community and various stakeholders about the project and about what they want and what they can see. And as you know, transportation always tops the list when it comes down to, you know, what are some problems and what are some shortfalls in the county. There's no public transportation. There's great distances between places and hills and mountains and winter weather and all that stuff. And also we have an aging population here in the county, and in the whole Northeast, truthfully, but certainly in Delaware County. And that kind of travel becomes problematic for people seeking healthcare, right? They don't necessarily want to travel an hour away to receive the care that they need. So bringing this medical neighborhood to Walton and to Delaware Valley Hospital will eliminate some of that. It makes it much more centrally located, and we can bring the services in that people, well, you can pass those around if you want.
Let people take a look at it.
Yeah.
What it looks like.
Go ahead. So basically what a medical neighborhood does is it brings everything under one roof. So you have all your specialty providers, physical therapy, your medical unit, primary care, all comes under one roof. And for those of you, I assume almost everybody here lives in the village, so you're familiar with the hospital and the primary care building and the location I'm talking about. What this project will entail is the current primary care building will, those services will get moved into the new addition, and that building will be torn down and converted to parking. Where physical therapy is located over in the same building as the community pharmacy, those services will also be moved into the expansion. And that will allow us to actually develop and improve and expand the community pharmacy to include a drive-through service. So that's part of the plan. But it also does something which you might not be aware of. There's in order for a physical therapist aide to work with a patient, the law is that the physical therapist must be in the building at that same time. So because the physical therapy building is in a separate location on campus, that limits them to some degree how many patients they can see and what work they can do with them. By bringing that all under one roof, that helps eliminate some of that. So that's what the medical neighborhood is. Part of this will also include collaborative community space too, because one of the things we want to do is have the ability to have space, meeting space, training space for other agencies, community organizations, EMT training courses, things like that, support groups, various support groups, to have those and have them right in the hospital so that patients, when they come in, they have easy access to the other services that they might need, okay? And it will help improve that coordination with that. What are we doing? So, also the medical wing. That will, very little of the current footprint of the hospital will be altered or changed. There's a small portion of the, you guys can't see this one probably, but the little section in red, some of that will be taken down, and that's where the addition will go. The orange piece that you see there, which is the current medical wing, that will be in the new building with modern, updated, all private, with private bathrooms, hospital rooms, 25 beds, which is, we currently have 25 beds, which is the maximum that a critical access hospital, which is what we're designated as, can have. So that's, if you're curious about why it's that number of hospital rooms, that's why. That's what we're required.
Does that mean rehab too?
Excuse me?
Does that mean rehab too? So like
Swing bed, yes.
Yes, the swing bed.
Yep, the swing bed program.
Okay.
Yes, it does. It includes that. But it gives us a little more space and privacy, private rooms and private hospitals, which helps with infection control, which we all learned during the pandemic, right? How important that is. You guys are going to see, you can see in here, I've included a diagram of the current primary care building, which is, it really is a veritable, it's a rabbit warren, truthfully, and it's just inefficient. Space has been utilized very well, but the most recent provider we hired, actually we converted closet space into office space. So to increase speed, we need space. Everybody always wants to know, how much is it going to cost, right? That's what everybody's doing. Well, money doesn't grow on trees, and this obviously isn't going to be cheap, but the hospital has been extremely fiscally responsible with its funds and can afford to build this project, truthfully. With some financing, we have, as I said, we applied for the transformation grant. We're in the process of applying for some USDA funding, which is some low interest funding, and some of our own cash reserves, and of course, fundraising, right? So you'll see a lot of me over the next couple of years because there will be a lot of fundraising going on too. But it isn't contingent. The project is not contingent on receiving the grant. And just to give you an idea of how competitive that was. I believe there was, don't quote me on these figures because I'm not sure if they're 100% accurate, but it was about $250 million the state had in the pot, and there was something like $2.6 billion worth of applications. Yeah, a lot. So it's very, very competitive. But as I said, the project is not contingent on us receiving that, but it does just mean that we would have to finance less. Okay. So basically, this is, it's a medical neighborhood. It's to provide more services, create community space, and increase the health and wellness of this community for the next 75 years. That's our goal.
What's the existing square footage of your existing facilities, including PT, emergency, all that? And what's the proposed square footage of the new
I
facility?
do not know. I could get that information for you, but I don't have that in my head.
Okay.
Okay, I would have to look that
Is
up.
there the same amount of square
No, it will
footage?
increase the space because the
Okay.
current hospital will be there. It's not a total increase. I do know it's 18,000 square feet per floor. So I know that's the additional space, but as you see, you're losing the physical therapy space and you're losing the primary care space. But it's definitely an increase in square footage. I just don't have those numbers.
Thank you.
Off the top of my head. Does anybody else have any other questions or?
So this is an addition, this one basically over, you said the red part of it, of the, if you're looking.
To the front, if you're looking,
I was trying to visualize.
this is the current front entrance of the hospital.
Oh, okay, yep.
So it will take up a goodly portion of that parking lot that's in the front is where it will go. And some of the other things that we've done is we've purchased some property around the hospital
Oh, I was
to
gonna
increase
ask
space
that.
and for additional parking
Yeah.
moving forward. Because parking is an issue even now.
Is there like a parking deck going in, or is it all just, okay.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Probably more, a little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
While you're here, then I'm gonna need a motion to letter of support.
I'll make a motion to sign the letter.
Second, all in favor?
Thank you very much. That's
You
very,
sign this
very
way, you got it right here. Thank you.
awesome.
And
You guys
thank you
are
very much for
efficient. I
coming down.
like
We try to be sometimes.
That's great.
Thank you very much for coming
You're
down.
welcome. And if you think of any other questions, my card is in your packets. Feel free to call me or send me an email and get you the information that you need.
This is gonna be a very big boost to our community. I've been on the board for 24 years. I've never seen something like this come. We're only one of 3 hospitals in Delaware County. We're already talking to Margaretville, because they have a mission to try to come in with our group, so we're really expanding pretty good, and it's gonna be great. We're gonna have a lot of senior citizens help over there as well, so it's gonna be really well. Again, thank you, Cindy, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Second, and not least, for sure, Nick, when you come up, you can introduce yourself.
My name's Nick Carbone. I'm the Watershed Affairs Coordinator in Delaware County with the Planning Department. And Ed asked me if I would stop over tonight and give you a little briefing on what's going on with the land acquisition program. And for those of you who don't know, Ed's also on the Coalition Watershed County Executive Board, which played a big role in these negotiations too. So we're glad to have Ed, and he's done a good job there. I'm going to hand out a map, and I think many of you may have seen this. Has been in the press. Elizabeth has done some very good reporting on the land acquisition stuff, and I've seen this map in the paper before. So what you're looking at is, just to give you an idea of what's happened in land acquisition. This is a 3-pane map. It shows you the progression of land acquisition from 2003 till 2021. It hasn't changed much since then. But, for people in the audience, you can see this picture is what we started with, and this is what's gone on now. This is a lot of land that's been purchased by DEP. So I would say that by looking at that map, that everybody's had just about enough of that. So what happened?
Can you hand one of those around?
Yeah, I got a few extras. I don't know if I can get one for everybody.
No, but just let them take
Yeah.
a couple around, let's take a look.
Here. Pass it down. So, we've been involved in negotiations for the past 3 years. The planning department, the county council, and CWT, which is the Coalition of Watershed Towns. The object behind the Coalition Watershed Towns is to have a unified voice of all townships and villages that are in the New York City watershed. And in Delaware County, we're almost 1 million acres of land, and 500,000 of it is in the New York City watershed. So we've got a huge stake in this. So currently, the DEP owns 117,000 acres. And by the time you add up easements from the WAC program, farm and forest easements, New York State land, which is another 25,000 acres, you're talking almost 200,000 acres. It's about 28% of the total area in the watershed that's controlled by somebody outside of the local people. So this last round of negotiations, I'm going to step back a little bit. There is a permit that allows New York City to buy land outside of their municipal boundaries. And that permit is given to them by the DEC. It's called the water withdrawal permit, or prior to this, it was called, well, it's now called the water withdrawal permit. So they give the city the right to go buy land outside of their municipal boundaries. And so we have negotiations for this water supply permit, which have been ongoing 3 years now. To give you an idea what that looks like at these negotiations, you'll have 50 people sitting around the table. 10 of them might be lawyers. You got the city, you have Department of Health, you have EPA, you have local soil and water districts and stream programs. The list goes on and on. So it's difficult at best to get things accomplished because we've got a lot of conflicting interests. You have environmental groups, the NRDC, Riverkeeper, they like the idea of this land acquisition. The local people, not so much. So these battles have been going on for about 3 years now. And we got to the point where we said, we're not going to continue if we can't get a better deal on land acquisition. So DEP has just come back. I think everybody's probably seen it in the paper. Came back and said, we're not going to have any acquisition in priority areas 3 and 4. And I'm just going to hand these out to you too, because this gives you the priority areas. So that's huge. That's over 300,000 acres that DEP won't have access to any longer to buy, which is a huge victory. In fact, it's historic. And I never thought that we would see that. But you'll notice, I'll hand it to you. You'll see priority areas 3 and 4 are that orangish color and then the light tan. That's all the area they cannot purchase anymore. You'll see there's 2 areas, priority areas 1A and 1B. Those are still going to be available for them to buy. Those are lands in close proximity to the reservoirs. I see town of Tompkins will be affected some because they have land in priority 1, 2, and just a little bit in the township at all. So that's major, and I don't think we could have asked for anything more than that. I knew that going into the negotiations, the Department of Health, who writes the filtration avoidance determination, said that there will be some form of acquisition. So we were lucky to get what we have here. There was another program that we had major concerns with, and that was the Streamside Acquisition Program. Now that program is being operated as a pilot program in the Schoharie Basin. Part of that Schoharie Basin, there's a little bit in the town of Roxbury too, that was included, but what happened was that Streamside program was a fee simple acquisition program. What they were trying to do is buy Streamside property. And some of the provisions for the land acquisition program were X'd. They could, now through the Core Lap program, you couldn't buy anything less than a 10 acre parcel. And that SAP program allowed them to go less than 10 acres. So the biggest problem that we had with that is that first, it was another form of land acquisition. And secondly, there was no stewardship provisions. And that just meant that the land would be bought, you throw away the key and walk away. And we felt like if it was truly about water quality, then there had to be some stewardship components. And everybody also felt from Delaware County and the Coalition Watershed Towns that if there was going to be a program like that, it should be town driven. So if the town wanted to have a section purchased by DEP, if the town would take that over for either a hiking trail or a fishing access point or something, then that would be acceptable. Another thing that we worked into that process was a license agreement. So say you're a landowner that's on a stream corridor, and you say, listen, I'm planning on staying here. I don't want to sell that property to the DEP, which is good. You can get enrolled in a license agreement, which would pay you a signing bonus and then roughly $200 an acre for that land every year for a 10-year period. And you would still own the land, you still pay the taxes on it, but it would help offset the cost of taxes. And those riparian areas would also have a plan that would be developed by your local soil and water district and the stream program people. So there might be some plantings involved or a few improvements to your property also. The good thing about these license agreements is that they would be revocable by either the landowner or DEP. So for instance, say you signed up for this and you're two or 3 years into the process, getting paid, and you say, I think I'm gonna sell my land, I wanna get out of the program, you can step out at that time, there's no entanglements. So it's a good setup. We wanted to prove that you could have long-term protection from a short-term agreement, much like the CREP program, if people are aware of that. Now, I came down here in 1999, it's already 25 years ago, doing plantings for the CREP job. So a lot of those people that signed up initially for the CREP, it was a federal program. They got trees planted, they might have had fencing to fence out the stream corridor, they had water systems. It was a great program. And some of these people didn't sign up after that 15-year term expired. And guess what? Now there's a wooded buffer, riparian buffer, there's a couple of them that I planted, they're 70 feet tall already. There's nobody to administer it, there's no need for any administration, and you've got this buffer that's doing the job without anything attached to it. So we wanted to prove that, and there was no reason for that land to be locked up in perpetuity. That's what we were afraid of. So those two things, we really altered those programs and made them much more palatable for people in Delaware County. And I'm thrilled that there's going to be no more acquisition in 3 and 4. I do have a map too for people that might want this. This is the town of Walton, and it shows the lands that are currently owned or controlled by DEP. So if you want to sit there and study those at some point, you'll be able to see what's available and what isn't. So that's what's currently being held, and the colors don't stand out that much, but if you look closely, you'll see in the summary section on the right-hand side, it'll tell you out of total acreage in the town, there's 65,000 acres. The watershed is 44,000 acres, and it gives you all the breakdown of who owns what. And so currently, there's 21.56% is taken by DEP. It's 20% of your town of Walton land, so it's a significant amount. I think that's enough. What happens was, what we were trying to push also is that we felt like land acquisition wasn't giving them water quality benefits. And the National Association of Science, Engineering, and Medicine also agreed with that you get diminishing returns from buying land. And the best that they could do is maybe prevent a few rural residences and some septic systems. Instead, we feel like maybe they should be putting the money into wastewater treatment plants, because this is where the pollution sources are going to be. They're coming from the population centers, not some little septic tank in the middle of nowhere. So we're going to keep pushing for that. Those are things that are going to be continued to be worked on, and I know that it's a big issue for Walton too. So we'll keep pushing that. If anybody had any questions, I'd be happy to answer. It's hard to sum this stuff up. It's 25 years worth of fights in 10 minutes. But
The main thing is that the city is not going to buy any more land up here where we are in the area. So that's the big thing. We've been going back and forth on it. I've been on the committee for a while, and I've been pushing, like Nick says, for the wastewater treatment plant to get help. They want to do things. For instance, I said, well, help us with the wastewater treatment plant. Help us with an upgrade. Help us with the I&I, with the water that's coming in. And they finally said, not officially, but unofficially, that they were going to look into it and work with us on it. So we've come a long way, thanks to Nick and people like that, to help us out. So.
well, if anybody had any questions or wanted to talk, I'm located over in that new planning office. Anybody had any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Whatever we can do for you.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate you coming down.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Get out of your hair.
Oh, you're good. Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Appreciate it again. Thank you. I just wanted everybody to have an idea of what's going on so that, you know, we meet once a month and I go to these meetings. And when I started doing it, they wouldn't even talk to us about it. Now they see that we meant serious. So it's good. I think we're making some progress. Okay, we'll go now to any public input. Anybody here like to have a few minutes to talk? Please just raise your hand, say your name, and give you time. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Oh, Richard Joy, by the way. My question is, have we gone anywhere on what we're gonna do over on Cherry Street, Maple Street?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it.
You're gonna talk about it?
Yeah,
I'll wait for that. Thank you.
of course. I said, I promise you, we're gonna keep doing it, and we are. Anyone else?
Yeah, I wanna know what the update is on the bowling alley.
I hate to say anything because every time I talk to the owner, he'll tell me something.
I know, it's been a while.
What's happened is I spoke to Tom Doyle, who is the owner of the building. I spoke to him last week. He said, Ed, I'm sorry, we've been running into issues trying to get electricians to come in and set, bowling alleys are all set. Everything inside the bowling alley is all set. They just need the electricians to set up the monitors and things like that. So he said, I think this week there's somebody down there doing work on it now. So I'm hoping within this month it should be. I'm hoping. I don't want to promise anything, but they are working on it. Everything on the inside is done already. It's just hooking up the electricity for I think the ABA or something, the bowling association have to get involved in doing stuff like that. So that's what's working on right now. That's what I can tell you. Okay. Okay. Abstracts. Everyone's had a chance to look at the abstracts. If not, if they did, I'd like to have a motion to pass them.
Make a motion to accept the abstract.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Department heads, code enforcement, Zach.
Yep.
You want to come up and-
So I have a proposed noise ordinance for the village of Walton. It's really short and it leads in, it's kind of vague, which gives the police officers the discretion that they need to be able to use. And we decided not to put in any hours so that way people can't use and abuse the times that the ordinance isn't in effect. You know, and it's up here if anybody like to read it or I can pass it around.
I read it before and it looked really good.
Okay.
We've been talking about doing this for quite a long time, but it's always, you got different yes and no and time limits and all that and measuring. And Zach came up with this, a shorter version of it, because we had them before from different places. They're like 4 pages long. And by the time you read them, you're out of breath. So Zach came up with this, which was good. I showed it to our lawyer, Dave Merzick. He agreed. He said it's good. And I talked to the chief. The chief also said it was good. It gives them a helping hand because a lot of times the police, right, chief, you go to a location, they complain about it. We don't have anything we can put our hands on. There's nothing you can write. There's no summon. This, what we'll have to do is have a, what do you call it? We have to have a meeting, a meeting so we can pass it and put it into our code. And then when the police go there, if they got a complaint, at least they can go talk to the person and let them know what the rules are on it. And then if they don't do anything, we can get them with summons. So it gives them something to help them enforce the law. Yes.
I was curious, because I have an instance, I'm sure you all know about it, where they're very sly and they may be operating a chainsaw at 11 o'clock at night, and by the time you call the police, they've stopped. So how do we, if there's noise, they're running lawn tractors going in circles for, several hours, but then they stop when the police come. I mean, how does that?
I don't know. It's going to have to be up to the police. They're going to have to use their discretion when they.
Well, video is always good.
Okay.
That would be helpful because we could be on something else, and then get there and it's not happening. That happens a lot.
Right.
But that's always helpful. It wouldn't directly lead to like summons, but at least having a conversation with the person that's committing the act. So,
Well, in my situation, I have security cameras, but I believe by law I can only monitor my own property. I can't direct them to their property. And I take pictures, and you can presume by seeing like 5 lawn tractors in the yard that they're operating those, or if they're holding a chainsawing their whole, so,
Right.
I mean, I'm able to take pictures, and I've got probably thousands of pictures documenting these noise situations. And they're also bringing in, like, I'd say, they're processing wood on the property. So I would say there's about 10 cords of wood there. And
It's a
they're,
lot of wood.
yeah, and they bring it in and they take it out. And they're processing it. They bring in big logs and they're chainsawing. It goes on for hours and hours and hours.
This is happening in the village?
Yeah. And I'd like this to be off the record in the recorder, please, because they're very vengeful. They're at 90 Griswold. I mean, I've got a couple of pictures with me, and sorry, it's just, I've tried to be reticent. I guess this just shows the 5, I think there's 5 lawn tractors and 1 big walk behind, and then the piles of wood in the front and the back. And they come in with carts, they cut it down in various yards. I don't know where they're getting it, and then they'll process it in the back, and then but if they were selling it, they had it stacked along the sidewalk, half cord, and had a sign up. So anyway, sorry, I kind of drifted away, but I think
That's okay. If we get this passed, we'll have the chief can look into it, and
Good.
along with the code enforcement, maybe between the two of them, there's something that could be worked out.
yeah,
Okay?
that would be so appreciated.
Okay, we'll try. Okay, for now, next, Butch?
Everyone,
Good evening.
everyone report okay? Any comments, questions? I will say Lane came in to do well station number 2, maintenance on that well. The well itself came out good.
Good, that's good news.
So they didn't have to do like a additional flushing that they do. They didn't have to do that, so what ended up happening was the pump itself was corroded. But the good thing was we were able to replace the pump, and we're still actually less than what I asked for.
We anticipated it in the
Last
budget,
last
okay.
time, so that worked out good. The pump was 13 years old, but it was getting very rusty, and they gave me the quote on it, and it was, like I said, we put a section below budget. So
That's good.
so it was good for us. Of course, we're right in the middle of leaf picking season. Nonstop. We did install 1 new we have somebody putting in a brand new house. We did the new sewer service and water service. That's been done to that property. So that was extra stuff. That's pretty much it. I'll talk afterwards.
Talk executive session later on, okay, about personnel. Okay,
That's all I got.
thank you. Chief? First thing I want to say to you, Chief.
I'm sorry?
First thing I want to say to you, because I know there's someone here that will understand, this is a great report.
Isn't it?
The way that it's all separated and everything. You know, don't try and embarrass you, Sharon, but it really,
Thank you.
it's so easy to pick out that you don't have to go through all the list and say, where is this? And that? It's right there in front of you, so.
I agree.
Thank you.
Great job.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had to say that to Sharon when she's here, because I wanted to hear it.
So you already took away my first question. So
Oh.
you received the report. Any questions on that? No. The other thing a couple things I wanted to ask. One was purchasing 2 Taser 10s for the department. Unfortunately, could not get them on the law enforcement grant. So with the monies we received back,
That's mind blowing. You're getting a grant for law enforcement, but then that included with pages. It's, you know, it's like giving you a gun without bullets, you know, right?
Unfortunately, it doesn't cover weapons.
Yeah.
So those are considered weapons. So,
Okay.
So with that, there's some monies that we received with Officer Lodge leaving, and then there's additional funds in the budget to cover that.
You need a motion for that, right? For the-
Yes.
What you got for that? What you looking at?
How much are we looking at? How much is it gonna cost?
13,939 without the tax, because we don't pay tax.
Make a motion that we buy the 2 tasers.
Need a second on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carry.
And the other thing, there's a supervisor school coming up in Broome County. Any supervisor that's appointed should have this course. It's a 3-week course, and it's $100 to send Sergeant Dumpy the course. So it's required by DCJS.
$100, is that what you said?
Yep, for materials, course, whatever the course work is.
Okay, so we need a motion for that also.
3 weeks straight.
3 weeks straight in January. It'd be January 6th through the 24th.
$100. Not bad.
And you need coverage also, right?
Right.
So that's the backfill and
Yeah.
the financial consideration.
So I'll be filling in. We've got a part-timer, get him trained up, so we'll get her filled.
But it's a class that they have to take.
They have to
need-
take it,
have to take it, so we need a motion for that.
Oh, okay.
You make the
Yeah.
motion?
Okay, yeah, I was thinking, all right, on
A
this, I was
second?
thinking out loud. but I will make
All in
that
favor?
motion.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, and then I'll have a couple items for
Executive session, okay. Been a, gonna be a busy executive session.
Hey, I want to say for the first time I've seen the police department have candy handout. I want to thank you for that.
That was a lot of fun. Halloween parade. And then trick or treating later.
Yeah, I saw that in the front there.
Yeah, your partner. Yeah,
Yeah, your partner, yeah. At least they don't give you a hard time, does it?
that's right. Doesn't say much.
That's what they're all gonna look like if we don't get them.
Yeah. I know. All right, thank you, chief.
All right.
Bill Brown, Delaware Engineering. Speak loud because
I'll speak loud.
when it comes to Maple Street, especially.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just a couple of updates on different projects. On the sewer side of things, we're working with the EFC to close out the I&I grant. There, had some back and forth with their engineers. There is construction work going on at the wastewater treatment plant to put in the valves that were authorized earlier this year. And that work is funded by New York City DEP. On the water side of things, the capital project, putting the water mains in and upgrading the tanks. The bulk of the work's complete. We have a couple of punch list things. There's some cleanup at the tank that needs to happen. And then the white stripe has to go back down on Route 10 where they put the water line. So the striping's supposed to be happening tomorrow. I think it's supposed to be good weather, so that'll be good. And then we have to do all the paperwork to close out the contracts. Our contract for engineering, Rutledge's contract for the construction, and then the village's contract with the EFC, the financing. So the construction's works is done, and we have to do a bunch of paperwork with the EFC to close that out. Overall, the project was completed within the budget that was allocated for it. We did scale the work back some to make sure we stayed within budget, but that was a $2 million project, 80%, 60% grant, 40% loan, for a total of $2 million. So we did stay within that budget. Pretty well. We're having some back and forth with DOH on the testing and working through that process to get that up and running. A couple new things, the lead service line inventory. Over the last couple of years, the EPA and then the New York State Department of Health implemented a regulation that every water system has to do an inventory of all the services throughout the water system. From little systems that are private that may have one service up to big cities. So Walton falls within that. The village was awarded a grant in the amount of $640,000 to assist in conducting that inventory. We're in the process of working with EFC to get access to those funds, so that they've been awarded. Now we have to close on the financing to actually get access to the dollars. But the work has started. The DPW did a lot of legwork on getting records assembled, and we submitted them 2 weeks ago to the health department. So the initial inventory was done to comply with the regulation, had to be submitted by October 15th. That was done. The next step in the requirement in the process is that notices have to go out to property owners who have services that we don't know what kind of pipe they have. So they're in areas where we have not replaced a water line recently on a given street. So we do have a couple hundred pipes in the village that we don't know if it's copper. We don't have a record showing what material it is. So those are unknown services. So folks will receive a letter saying you have an unknown water service. We haven't found any that are lead. We don't expect there to be a lot of lead services, but until we can either get in basements to verify what pipe is going through the wall, and or do excavations either out in the road or in a yard to dig the pipe up and physically see what it is, then right now they're unknown. So we have to notify people that they're unknown, and that further review is happening. The ones that are known that we did have records on, those are in inventory. That inventory is on file at Village Hall, and a copy of all is also on New York State DOH's website, and they have every water system in New York State registered if folks are interested. So that's ongoing. Austin Lincoln Pool, nothing really new there. The village was awarded a grant again. The funding's not in place yet. They have to go through the closing process, and then that's with DASNY, a different New York State agency. The project the mayor mentioned, the drainage on Maple, Cherry, Guild, that area. We did go out and conduct survey work over the last month. Took GPS shots of what the existing infrastructure is. Met with DPW and Cobleskill Stone, who's a county bid contractor for drainage and paving and road work. And I did get a proposal from them today to install about 1,200 feet of drainage piping and 9 catch basins. Was going to be about $310,000. And we're looking at some different options with that. We may look to scale that back some. Based on where CHIPS work has been done, in recent years. But so, those are kind of the ranges of costs that we're looking at to upgrade the drainage infrastructure, largely in the vicinity of Maple and Maple, Guild, and kind of the driveway going up to the school. To right now that there's catch basins there, but they don't drain down to Lower Maple and out to Stockton. So we would be looking to replace the ones that were there, upgrade them, and
hook up the other ones that
hook it up down the street so that water is intercepted in that vicinity before it, runs down to Guild and ultimately to Cherry Street. In the trenches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when can we get? What are we waiting for to go next? What's the next step?
So they're going to give us a formal written proposal, with a breakdown on this many feet of pipe, and if we want to make some adjustments on that, we can. But then it's those costs are and it's based on county bid pricing, so that it has gone through a procurement process, which is required for municipalities. So Cobleskill Stone has the bid for this kind of.
You got to mention about the Guild that part already. Then we can block off the other end and come.
Yeah, we pull that. There's 150 feet of pipe and only 2 catch basins in that section that we pull out. So that 3 ton probably goes to 275, somewhere in that range.
Okay. Well, we need to get this done. So when you get it, maybe we got to call a meeting together so we can get it started. Yeah. So Ted, you guys agree with that?
Yes.
As soon as we get, because we need to get this done. We made a promise we're going to do it, and I want to make sure that we do it the right way.
Are you gonna talk about how you're gonna pay for it?
How much, do we have any money in chips?
Not that much.
Oh, I don't know
And
what
if
you
we
have.
do, and if we do, there'll be no money left for paving next year. And we're not gonna do that street until summertime when there's no school.
What street?
Maple. There's no way you can take that street up there in school, with schools.
You're saying Coastal can't do it until, huh?
But, look, no, let's remember,
When can Coastal still do this, or we can't, I mean,
well, you're not gonna be able to get any blacktop here at the end of this month, all blacktop once you're closing down.
Usually around Thanksgiving,
Yeah, and,
the week, depending on the weather.
and to open up Maple Street during the school year is gonna be a complete disaster.
we're gonna wait till what, till March,
You
April?
have to wait till summer. Cause you're gonna have all those kids walking down through there, is gonna be a bad situation.
But we gotta get it taken care of, I mean, before it starts raining and getting all flooding over there again. I mean, we can direct kids to walk different ways, we have to, but I just, if we can't do it now because the blacktop's there, I mean, maybe we have to wait until March, April, something like that. Then I think we should be able to do it. And as far as funding, we need to get some more funding.
Oh, yeah.
How can we get to?
I mean, you can request member items, from elected officials. They take a long time.
No, we don't want something that, not the. Well, let me ask you this way: if we have money in the chips, I know you said we had certain roads we want to do next year. I'm just thinking, this needs to get done. We've already had flooding over there. I mean, I know we want to do streets, but to me, I don't know what the rest of the board, I feel this is a priority.
Well, the public's just gonna have to realize if the streets.
The public will have to realize that we got
Right,
it,
but we don't have 310
And we
or
don't have that much
275
right now.
in there.
even with the new money that we'll get.
No, we already got that total.
So how much do we have in it? Do you have any idea?
2, maybe,
How much?
maybe 2.
200, yeah, no. Not $2, 200. I don't know where that if we get 200, I mean, how much, I don't know what we can do, with what we have.
Right. I mean, we can neck it down to stay within that budget. We may.
And see what we can do with that, see how far, at least we can open it up and so the water doesn't go down on Cherry Street and around there. That's one thing we have to try and do.
Right.
The paving we have to hold off on. People have to understand, I'd rather do a place that got flooded than pave the street that looks like we'll do a little patching if we have to. I mean, that's my feeling. I don't know what everybody else feels. Speak
no,
up.
I mean, we need to do it, I mean, whatever promise.
Yes. All right, so talk to them, say what we got, and see what we can work out to get something done as soon as possible. Okay?
Very good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shane?
Everybody get my report?
Yes.
Anybody have any questions? I have just one request, and that's for Taggart Electric to replace the VFD for the EQ tank. It would cost of $4,700, and that's an 80% village, 20% DEP cost.
We have money in the budget for that, right?
Yes.
Need a motion for that?
Make a motion to complete that task. That's what he said. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
That's all I have.
All right, thank you.
I trust you.
All right, we'll go to trustee,
Did
So-
you do for the clarifier?
yeah, I was gonna do it when it comes to me, okay. Well, we can do that now, too. We put in, the CWC is gonna help us with a loan for the clarifiers. We put in for $600,000, correct? Jason Merrill from the CWC said they would help us and give us money at a lesser rate than the bank. A lot of the banks are 5 or 6%, but we're looking for 4% at least. And so, need a motion from the board to go ahead with this.
Well, what the motion we need is part of the application for the CWC
It's the sequel.
is the sequel. And we got a letter today that I sent out from Brian Suazo telling you that it's a type 2 secret action. So we just need a board resolution to that effect, naming that the clarifier project is a type 2 action.
Need a motion.
Make a motion that we do that.
Second? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Sorry.
And I also, with that project, would like permission to open a checking account.
Make a motion to open a checking account for that project.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. That's it for you, right?
Mhm.
Okay, also, while we're talking about it, then, we're gonna have to do a public hearing on this, noise ordinance, correct? Well, we can put it in, so maybe next meeting we could do that. Need a motion for that too.
Need a
Motion to